Hi, everybody. Elaine here, the Animal Reiki Lady. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be in the world. Thanks for joining me. Today we are doing a reading for Tiny, and I know that Tiny's human has been waiting for this reading, and I can't wait to share with you some of the things that are already coming through. I've written down so much already, and I know so much will come through when I begin to actually talk with Tiny as we do this little reading. But first of all, quick introduction. My name is Elaine. I'm an animal Reiki master. I help people create these really deep spiritual healing connections with animals. And the result is that now I am able to connect with animals on the other side. The other side of life is what I call it. And I receive beautiful messages of healing and hope and love. And I receive fun messages. I love to share in these videos. I'm sure I do this differently than anybody else. And I think each of us, if we were to try this, would have our own unique way that we connect with souls and spirits who have crossed to the other side. But I received my information almost immediately. The moment I started thinking about doing a session for Tiny, I could feel the connection. And I write it down if it comes to me too fast, and I'm afraid that I'm going to forget some of the things that they're sharing. I write it down. So I've got cards everywhere. I use dry erase markers and dry erase boards and books and books and books of all the readings that I've had with animals. And I like to share information that is evidentiary. So some proof, some validation that we're really connecting because everybody wants to be able to connect. Who doesn't want to be able to connect with their loved ones on the other side, whether it's humans or animals? And so I love to provide that validation for you and that hope and that knowing that there's something beautiful on the other side. And also I channel something called the Animal Collective, which is all the animals that I've ever worked with over these years now that I've been doing this. They come together as one almost and have a message of hope and inspiration and healing and fun for all of us. So that's kind of the way that this is done. So let's get down to Tiny. I have to jump right in and share some things about Tiny that Tiny's human would have no way of knowing. I mentioned it in the comments if anybody saw the last video. But my grandmother had a dog named Tiny, and Tiny was she was a mutt. She was a mixed breed. She was black. Her tail had gotten cut off in the car door, so someone had closed the car door. So she had a little nub of a tail, and before people started docking their dogs' tails, but that's a topic for another day. Um, and then Tiny she was a round, rotund, medium-sized dog, but her name was Tiny, and she was so much fun. I loved Tiny so much. But Tiny had puppies, and one of Tiny's puppies was a dog named Peanuts. Actually, I got that story a little bit confused. Peanuts came from was my aunt's dog, I believe, that gave us Peanuts. Regardless, neither here nor there. Grandmother had a dog named Tiny. I had a dog growing up named Peanuts. And guess what? Peanuts is the identical twin of Tiny, your Tiny. She looks exactly the same as Tiny. I don't know if Tiny's a boy or a girl, honestly. But my Peanuts was a girl who looks just like your Tiny, identical twins. And my father, this is part of what came through as part of the evidence. My father loved Peanuts so much. He would scoop Peanuts up in his arms. And I have a sense about this from Tiny. He would hold Peanuts almost like a little baby in his arms and scrub her belly, and she would just be in heaven. He would scrub her chest, scrub her belly, and she would be so ecstatic. And my father was a big guy, holding Peanut like this and scratching the belly, scratching and scratching, and then he'd hold her, and she just loved that. And guess what? My father's name was Richard. I received an email from Tiny's human, and the name is Richard. So I just had to throw that in there in case there's any kind of relationship with that, because all of these things I do not consider a coincidence. I don't believe in them. I believe that everything is a co-incident. So let's see what else came through from Tiny. Fun little reading from Tiny today. And we'll see how much please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments what's validated and what even may be off base, because that's the only way that I can get better with each of these readings. Okay, first I'm going to share with you. Oh, no, let's do this. Let's do this. I'm going to take a moment because Tiny got me all excited when I saw Tiny's picture and what Tiny looked like. So I'm just going to close my eyes for a minute. Now, this thing that I do when I do this chant, it's a way to focus myself, to ground myself. You can even hear the difference in my voice right now. Some people call this a light language. I just call it a beautiful vibration, a way that I'm able to connect. I use these pretty little sounds that just, it started with the tradition of Reiki. It's a little mantra that helps me just feel like I connect to all of the energy that is everywhere, all of the love that's in the universe. I just open myself up to it and I'm able to receive these messages. So I just do this really easy. O Aze One. O Aze One. O Aze One. Oh, and it just brings me to a beautiful place where I can deliver this beautiful message. I already feel the animal collective. They all gather around when I do this. I can see all of the most amazing animals that I've ever had the honor to work with. They fill my heart with so much love. So let me share the information that I received from Tiny. As I was preparing, I mentioned that the moment I brought Tiny into my mind, the thoughts started to come to me. So I wrote some down and we'll see what else comes. So the first thing, you guys don't know what I do to prepare here, but before I start one of these videos, I sometimes get a little manic and I'm making sure that everything is just perfect. And then this is the message that came through. Stop it. Stop getting ready. Just get to it. So I don't know if any of these words mean anything to you, but this was the message I was getting from Tiny, that Tiny wanted me to click the go button right away. Stop getting ready. Just get to it. I am impatient, and impatient came through about me. Impatient came through about Tiny's human, but the word I'm impatient, I could see. I could just see Tiny being impatient, like sitting on the ground, being very impatient for something. Like now. I want it right now. Look, I'm shaking the camera. And then also something about being scattered. And I got the sense, so this is something that I would normally do as I'm getting ready. I would clean up my whole desk area so that nobody can see the clutter that I sometimes have when I'm doing this work. And I got the message, don't worry about that. Not important, not important. And so I'm going, okay. I'm feeling myself going, okay, I'll get to it. And as I did that, I knocked over a whole glass of water. I'd filled up a glass of water for myself because sometimes my throat gets dry as I'm doing these readings. And I have it right here now set up on the side of me. I knocked over a whole glass of water and I got a sense of Tiny laughing hysterically. So I don't know if um, Tiny did that, if he would knock things over, he or she, I'm not sure what sex Tiny is. I'm not sure if Tiny would knock things over, but I did get a sense that as soon as I spilled the water, he was laughing. Then other evidentiary things that came through before I got this message that's already starting to creep in from the animal collective. Um, Noises like a fire alarm, like a beeping fire alarm. I got that noise. And I don't know if that disturbed Tiny in any way or if that was something that happened in your home, but that's what came through. So I share everything. Um, Something, okay, well, bowling in a bowling alley. I don't know. I can't even imagine that a dog would know anything about bowling or a bowling alley, but I definitely got the distinct feeling of that someone in the family bowls or bowled a bowling alley, and that somebody needs more practice. I just thought that's why this message was so fun from Tiny, and I couldn't wait to share it. Somebody needs more practice. Was Tiny an early riser? Something about being an early riser, that even this, me waiting until now, it's early in the morning here in Colorado, but I got a sense that Tiny wanted me to do this video hours ago, and I didn't do it. But I got a sense of an early riser. Um, hmm. so a word came through that I don't know how I'm going to explain this, but a word came through about something Tiny had a little bad habit. So you can tell me what that is because the word is uncomfortable for me. Something to do with the female reproductive system. Tiny had a very bad habit. And so maybe that knows what you know what that is. Oh, he verbal displeasure. I got a sense that Tiny was very vocal if he was unhappy about something. If there was something displeasing him, or you guys were leaving and leaving him alone, I got a sense that Tiny was very vocal in letting you know when you weren't doing something that he wanted you to do. And this is where it starts to blend. So now, after the evidence, I kind of just blend this into the message that comes through from the animal collective. And there's something very important that they want us to know. It starts with Tiny, and Tiny gave me an image of a vet, the word vet, VET. And it later came to me that it might be not a veterinarian, which, since I work in the animal field, that I immediately went to veterinarian or vet tech, that somebody was there to meet Tiny on the other side. That's the message coming through from the collective as well. Specifically for Tiny, that a vet was there to meet Tiny on the other side. Only then I had the sense that it wasn't and since it's making me emotional, I'm thinking that this is real, that it wasn't a vet tech or a veterinarian, it was a veteran. Oh, it's really making me emotional. There was a veteran of the armed forces on the other side to greet Tony. Is his name Tony? To greet Tiny, and that you should never worry. This is the collective message. Besides just from Tiny, there should never be one moment of doubt that they're alone. In fact, they're together, like even with the animal collective, they're together, and there's souls of all kinds together on the other side. They're not ever alone. They don't arrive alone. They don't get lost. They don't wonder where we are because they still see us. There's not a break in consciousness. When they leave their physical body, there is no break in time or there's no sense of time. Um, okay, that's the other thing coming through. So let's just go with that for a second. There's no sense of time. They want me to talk about the Rainbow Bridge. Number one, that there was a veteran there to meet Tiny. And whoever that is, I'd love for you to validate that for me if you possibly can. That there's always not only someone, but a whole group of beings, a whole group of beautiful soul spirits on the other side who are there to greet our animals when they cross. There is no time on the other side. On the other side of life, there is absolutely no time. Things can happen in a flash, or they can take out however long our beautiful animals want them to take. They take. They can come and go as they please. They can be here right by our side in their little spirit form. They can go run on a beach like my Winston does. When I call on Winston, I can see him almost immediately with me. But I also sense that he can't wait to get back to his beach, that there's a lovely beach that he loves to run on and chase the birds. And with no sense of time, they aren't waiting. When we say that our animals are waiting for us on the Rainbow Bridge, there is no waiting. When it comes our time to leave our physical body, every animal that's ever been a part of our life will be there to greet us just in the same way that our animals had some way to greet them. And there will be no loss of time. And you'll feel it too. I know it's hard for us to wrap our minds around, but what they're asking me to try to explain is that when they cross, there's no waiting. It's not like they're sitting at the Rainbow Bridge, tapping their little foot, impatiently waiting for us to come to the other side. They're just there experiencing everything that ever was beautiful and fun and loving for them. And that means sometimes they come back. Sometimes they hang out with us in spirit form. Sometimes they play on the beach, or like Lucy, they run in that little forest that she loved in Wisconsin. And that when it comes our time to transition to the other side of life, not only will they be there for us, but that will be instantaneous for them. They'll feel as if there's been no break in time, and you will feel as if there's been no break in time. It's hard for me to put into words. the transition that happens when we transition. We step into that magical place as well, and we can be in all places at one time, doing all the beautiful, amazing things that we wanted to do. Maybe some things that we didn't get to do here in life. Something's coming up about travel for me from Tiny. Um, are her humans supposed to be traveling somewhere and you've been putting it off? She's telling me right now that you should go travel. Okay, he or she. I really don't know the gender of little tiny, and it's not coming through to me at all. Well, sometimes I've been called to say he, other times she. So we'll go with that. And let's see if there's anything else. Oh, she wanted me to share that there was no fear. Let's go with he or she wanted me to share that there was no fear. You might have had some concern that she was afraid when it was at the time of her crossing. And sometimes there's not fear like that. Inside our animals' heads, they don't like go, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm so afraid. It doesn't work like that with our animals. They're much more trusting and much more open to this whole process, that life is ongoing on the other side. Um, so she did want me to let you know that there was that something about fear comes up. There was absolutely no fear. Okay. I think that's it for now. It was wonderful to connect with you. It was wonderful to connect with Tiny. It was great to share this with all you guys. And until our next reading, may animals light your way. Take care. Bye now.